So, did 2 coffees, and we walked down the end of the palapa to the table, and we just sat down there. And she told me that wasn't one of her favourite places. She says, when I lived here, she goes, I used to come down here, she goes, and just sit and listen to the waves. And she started telling me, that her dad was, it should just come out with it. She just blurted it out. She just says that her dad wasn't nice to them when they were growing up and stuff. He'd been a soldier in the Prince of Wales regiment, and had been stationed in Malaysia, and had met her mum in a place called Kuching. And not long after that, they got married, and had Amanda, and then her. And he got out of the army, and he'd moved to Belize because he'd been stationed there, so he moved back again. And he got into real estate, and then she was talking about Tim, about Tim's past, and I said, yeah, Tim told me what he used to do, and she loved Tim. Tim was one of the nicest guys, and she says, what Daddy did to him, she goes, it was diabolical. She goes, she said they set Tim up, with the Coast Guard, kept his money, cleaned his bank account out, and she's basically just had Tim imprisoned. And I said, that's just not a good thing to do. She goes, Tim's so nice. Says he loves Rosie, Amanda's just, she says, Amanda is my sister, and she goes, I'll always have her back and stuff, she said. But she says she's not a nice person, and what she's done to Tim, she says is terrible. Trying to take Rosie away from him and all this type of stuff. And I said, well, I said, some people are just fucking complete twats. And we sat talking. She asked me how I liked scuba diving. Said that she liked guys who worked out, and I was, quite muscly and, pumped up and stuff. And she said she liked guys who worked out, which was half of the fucking island, because everybody went to the gym. And she was actually really nice. Said that she went up to Miami a few times with her mum to go shopping, and she says, it would be nice to catch up with you. She goes, if you come up, could she get my number? And I said, yeah, no worries. So wrote the number out, and once we got back down to the dive shop, gave her the number, and she said that she would stay in touch, which she did. She had also mentioned the place on the mainland called Chan Cheech Lodge, and it was a jungle lodge, and it was run by Tom and Josie Harding, who were friends of theirs. Josie was a nurse in the military, and Tom had been in Vietnam. I don't know what regiment, whether it was the Army or the Air Force or Special Forces, I'm not too sure. But they'd been in the army, and they ran this jungle lodge, and she was going to start going up to work up there. They'd offered her a job as a manager, and yeah, I said, that's really good, and she says, if I get settled, she says, come up and see me. I said, yeah, okay, some point, which was to happen, just over a year later. And so, yep, Chan Cheech Lodge was one of the nicest places I'd been to, but I'll get to that as well at some point. But yeah, she was nice. We sat talking. We got on very, very well. Found out that she was a Gemini. My birthday was on the 3rd of June, and her birthday was on the 26th of June. And I was 6 years older than her. 7 years older than her. And yeah, we got on really well. And we just talked, and before I knew it, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just said, look, I've really got to get my head down. And so I walked her across through Bruce and Charlene's and straight across to her place, and said goodnight. And as I said goodnight to her, she put her hands on my face and she kissed me. And I kind of took a step back, and she said, thank you for walking me home. I'll be in touch. And that was it. And she tootled off into the house, and I turned and walked back over to the boat, and I set the alarm on my watch, and I went out like a light. I was gone to the sheets, winds, done. Like somebody had turned the light off, and that was it. And I slept till 6:30 on the button, absolutely exhausted. Went down, Had a quick shower, went down, locked up the boat, made sure that everyone was there, slipped the keys under the dive shop door, pushed them under as far as I could, got my bag and headed down to the Spindrift. And Andy was already there. Andy was having breakfast, and I went in, sat down. I had an orange juice and some pancakes, and Andy and I started talking, and we would soon be heading to the airport. Andy had ordered a taxi for 7, and we finished up. Andy paid. He had a couple of bags. I grabbed 2 for him. He took 2, and we headed out of the Spindrift onto the main roads, and there was a taxi. It was actually a little golf cart which had taxi on it, and we hopped on, and we made it to the airport. The airport had just opened by the time we got there. There was loads of people already at the airport for the early flights over to Belize City and down to Placencia, which was on the mainland, and also to Key Corker. So quite a few busy people. The planes were coming out of the hangars. There was Islander aircraft. There was Twin Otter aircraft. There was 172 Cessnas, 150 Cessnas, loads and loads of aircraft just waiting to ferry people across to their destinations. So Andy's plane was parked up. So we went over. Andy opened the side door. We threw a kit in. Andy jumped in, tied it up behind the seats, not at the back of the plane, because everything had to be balanced. So we tied everything to the back seats with bungee cords. Made sure there was plenty of water. Made sure there were snacks. There was a porta potty in the back of the plane when you needed to do your business, and toilet roll, etc., etc. And so Andy told me to stand by the plane. So he walked over to Tropic Air. Johnny Grief was there. Johnny waved over at me. Came over quickly, wished me good luck, and said he would see me again. And I said, Johnny, if you're ever in, if you're ever up in Houston, if you're ever up in Miami, Dave has my phone number. Get it off Dave. I says, hopefully come over to the house, and maybe we'll get a chance to go out. Johnny was a nice guy. Shook hands. All the best, call. We'll catch up with you. See you next time you're down. Blah de blah de blah. Andy had gone in, filed his flight plan, came over, climbed up into the aircraft. I climbed up in the other side. Andy showed me how to strap in, straps over the shoulders and 2 up, and clicked in the middle, and started to move wheels and buttons and bits and pieces, and checked everything. And the next thing, then he handed me a set of earphones and a microphone on it, plugged it in. He plugged his in, asked me if he could hear me. Yeah. Then Andy started talking into his microphone, which buzzed to life, and the message came back: Alpha 12985, clear to runway 1 or whatever it was, good to go. And then before we knew it, Andy's engines kicked in. I had a good look around me. My stomach dropped, dropped. Once I knew that I was actually leaving, and I fucking just envisioned Dave, just standing out on the fucking standing out, wondering if he could get a glance at the plane going over, and that was just on my mind. So we were going the opposite direction. We weren't going to fly over Dave's house. We weren't going to fly over the restaurant. We were just basically going to head north, and that was up to the Gulf of Mexico, over the Gulf of Mexico, and across to Miami, up the Keys and across to Miami. And the next thing, we started to taxi, quite a bumpy little roads. Andy hit more speed, and before we knew it, we were airborne, and I could hear the landing gear retract under the plane, click into place, and a couple of little bangs as they secured themselves, and that was us airborne.